Good. Welcome, everybody, to our special council meeting of November 30th at 9 a.m. Our delay this morning is just a little technical glitch as we learn the system a little bit. So thank you for your patience. Today's special meeting has got a couple of items for consideration, and then we're jumping into some closed training discussions, some closed training. First thing is we'll do a call to order, and I'll do the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Excellent. For the next portion, we are planning to do a declaration of office for our soon-to-be Councillor Olmsted. Now, because it's in addition to the agenda, should I move to add that item?
Sure.
Perfect. So can I get a motion to do this, to add this to the agenda today? Thank you, Councillor Trim. So move to do a declaration of office. Seconder, please. Councillor Moore. All in favor? Thank you. CAO, over to you.
Yeah, maybe just for the general public. So essentially, Councillor Olmsted was not present at our last meeting where all the other members of council, rather, the last meeting where all the other members of council completed the declaration of office. So we'll just be doing that for Councillor Olmsted today. And then subsequently, we'll take a photo at the next council meeting, which will be the official photo of the members of council.
I, Christopher Olmsted, having been elected to the office of Councillor in the municipality of the Township of Whitewater Region, do solemnly promise and declare that 1. I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. 2. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. 3, I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. 4, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath. Declared before me in the Township of Whitewater Region on this 30th day of November 2022. Anything else? Great, thank you. It feels good to be on the other side of the fence.
Sign that, yeah? Okay. Excellent. It feels a little odd. It's not all full of pomp, but we'll do that on the 7th.
I like it much better this way.
Perfect. Thank you, CAO. So we'll move on to item number 2, declaration of interest. Is there any declaration of interest? Show none seen. Move on to item number 3. So there's 2 items for consideration. The first one, Beachburg Arena update. A recommendation before us is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region postpone the opening of the Beachburg Arena for artificial or natural ice until fall 2023, following a review of the Township's strategic plan and arena facilities in consultation with all recreation associations, and direct staff to support all recreation associations with their implementation of outdoor rinks, if applicable. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? So mover is Councillor Bell, seconder Councillor Trim. CAO, you'd like to make the presentation?
Yeah, thanks so much. So just as a note, with me today I have Jerry McIntyre. He's our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. He's just behind me to my right. So essentially back in June of this year, Council had passed a motion or resolution to postpone the opening of the Beachburg Arena. This was as a result of the discovery of the disintegration of the concrete wall of the plant room, which is at the back right side of the arena facility. So the disintegration of that wall proved that there may be a potential issue for the collapse, if you will, of that section of the building, and that was reviewed by an engineer through JP2G Consulting. Within that room, we store ammonia. So that ammonia essentially poses a risk to the general public in the area should it escape, the mechanics within that plant room. So after council had made that decision, staff had removed 95% of that ammonia from the facility so that it would not pose an immediate risk to the adjacent landowners. So that ammonia was transferred to a different site, and for the time being, the arena is safe. So basically, council had requested as part of that resolution was to report back to council as part of the 2023 budget on a couple of factors. One would be to determine whether or not we want to move forward with the opening of the arena in the winter of 2023, so this ice season, if you will, and also to get a full sense of cost for the rehabilitation of the arena as a whole. So the plant room, the roof, the pad, the concrete pad, and the boards. So what we have before us is a report from staff. It speaks to two things. One, in the analysis about our recommendation to postpone the opening for a variety of reasons. And then in the financial implications, I speak to the general estimated cost for the rehabilitation of the arena. So the analysis piece, so staff are not recommending that we open the arena for the 2022-2023 ice season. That is that we postpone the opening of the Beachburg rink for natural or artificial ice until the fall of next year. So that essentially is as a result of, one is the cost of operations. We anticipate that to open the arena from January 15th to late March, we're probably in the cost estimates of about $60,000. So that is to fix the plant room temporarily, get the ammonia back, get the plant up and running, have staff create ice, and then operate the facility. So we anticipate a cost of about $60,000. So that cost is quite substantial. And we don't anticipate any additional or major additional revenue if we open the arena. So the availability of ice time at this point in time is relatively significant in our two facilities. So we currently have the Cobden Arena and the Westmeath Arenas open. So staff did review available ice time between now and early January, and there are significant gaps within our prime time ice, so that would probably extend from 4 till 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. So there's available ice out there, maybe just for the general public. If you're looking for ice time, we have facilities that could accommodate that. And then the third point, so cost of operations is one, availability is two, and third one is recruitment. So as it stands today, we're kind of operating with our current staff at about 95 or 100%. So what happens is you might see a long list of staff, but the reality is an attendant might only be able to work a Saturday. So while he's listed there as staff, he can only work one day of the week. So there's a few staff that are currently there that can only work certain days. So we did try to recruit attendants and casual positions for the winter season back in September, and it proved significantly difficult to find staffing. So if council chooses to move forward with the opening of the Beachburg Arena, whether for natural or artificial ice, the first step we need to do is recruit people, because otherwise we're just going to be closing an arena to send staff to Beachburg. So we're not really gaining any additional availability, if you will. So for those reasons, staff at this time are not recommending that we open the Beachburg Arena for winter 2023 season. What we are doing, and council will be aware of it, is we're going to be examining our strategic plan in the spring of 2023. That strategic planning exercise will also involve an examination of our recreation facilities. So, where we are today and where we want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So that'll give us, the township as a whole, a sense of where we need to go to accommodate our users. I won't get into the financial implications, the total cost. Maybe I'll just say that we've consulted with different consulting firms, contractors, if you will. and adjacent municipalities who've just redone their concrete pad and boards. We anticipate that the cost to rehabilitate Beachburg Arena will probably be in the range of about $2.5 million. But again, these are not accurate costs by any means. I want to make that clear. They're merely just high-level estimates. And when we come back in the spring, what we will do is an assessment of the 3 facilities to get a full sense of the costing for all of our arena facilities to project their lifespan, maybe 50 years down the road. So, that $2.5 million essentially gets us, a greater lifespan, whether that's 25, 30, or 50 years for that one facility. So just the last point is the recommendation also speaks about council directing staff to support our recreation associations should they choose to implement outdoor rinks. So we could provide support by connections to our water network or some support to that means. So just that if we're not opening this facility, that if the recreation associations want to do an outdoor rink, that we could try to lend some support in any way that we can. So that concludes the report. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Nicholson. Thanks.
Thank you, CAO. Just go to the mover first for comments. Councillor Bell.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Ivan, just clarifying a couple of these things yesterday. And he just made the point, which is, I've been in contact with the Beachburg Rec Association, went to their first meeting. Obviously, this is a major concern of theirs moving forward. A couple of things that were brought up at that meeting were just the work that needs to be done, and maybe the participation of some of the local contractors locally, could provide some labor at a reduced cost if the supplies are given or the materials are supplied to them. That was something that was brought up and just a consideration moving forward as we look into making decisions kind of future into the fall of next year. One of the points that was made was if this had been addressed maybe in June or July last year, there could have been some of that participation, but it gets very difficult, especially for the concrete work that needs to be done moving into the colder weather and into that season. So as far as recruiting some local individuals to do that now, that's going to be pretty difficult. And what was so included in the report as well is a number of these additional costs that aren't necessarily related to that back room and the roof at this time. So again, that's just consideration moving forward. That $2.5 million cost, that's not to get the rink going for next fall, but we do have some substantial costs to look at moving into the fall next year. And then on top of that, probably in the next 5 years, when you're looking at compressors, the water tank, plate chiller, condenser, dehumidifier, electrical repairs, the new furnace, septic system, the pad, the piping in that pad, those are all things that we're going to have to look at, and maybe not immediately to get the rink operational, but something that's going to need to be considered in the very near future. So just some clarification, I guess, that we got on that yesterday. So yeah, I think that's probably the right step moving forward, is to delay the opening. We have the available ice time. We can manage that demand right now, and we can get a better picture of what the realistic costs are going to be to get that rink operational by the fall next year. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Bell. I'll just go to the seconder next, which is Councillor Trim. Do you have anything to add? You don't have to if you don't. No? Would you want to add?
No.
Perfect. Good. I'll go to Councillor Olmsted. He had his hand up after that.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. Wholesome report for sure. So the 2.5, and obviously that's a moving number. So is that overall, is that the existing building simply refurbished or upgraded, like roof, slab? Like, is that basically the current building operational?
So I would say that to position the building to be operational, I would say the plant room needs to be dealt with. Certainly, The estimate, so we would have to do temporary bracing within the plant room as a first step, and then get the ammonia back and all that. So that cost is not it's not substantial,
Yeah.
but if we're moving into the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to just get the facility operational over maybe 3 to 5 or 6 years, whenever something else fails, I'd be recommending as a CAO that we try to determine our fulsome needs in recreation and arenas before we start investing that amount of money into facilities.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I'm just trying to get a sense of, like, are we talking $2 to $3 million, and we still have the same old building, but it's operational, basically, is.
Yeah, so I'd say like you'd have all new features within it,
Right.
but that doesn't include new dressing rooms that are accessible,
Right.
the lobby, and a variety of other things. So I think that also needs to be considered as part of this, right?
Super.
So,
Great, thank you.
yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I too had the opportunity to speak with someone from the Rec Committee. They have a new group of young volunteers that are in there now, and it was really needed. And I would really love to see us have an outside rink. They sounded like they could support it. They would have the volunteer to support. I would certainly support it wherever we can as a council. And I am in agreement as well. I think postponing it at this point in time for the season, we do not have an option. But I do think we have to start thinking outside of the box. There is more to it than hockey. This arena, we could do other things in that facility. I mean, I found out that there was a roller derby in Napanee that is booming, that they're using for an ice surface. So I think we need to start thinking outside of the box here. There's more than just hockey. We have seniors. We have lots of opportunity here to maybe do something with that. And I'm going to stop calling it an ice surface or whatever, with that building. And maybe we can generate some revenue from that. There could be opportunity there to generate revenue. So anyway, I am again in support of postponing it for this season and supporting anything that, if any of the recreation associations want to do, I would be in full support of doing whatever we can to assist them. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Tabbert.
I have to admit, I have a concern over our other buildings now. I saw the photos of this, whatever you call it, that building. How did it get to be so bad so fast? Or was nobody watching it? Like, do we not make general, tours of our buildings? And if we don't, we better start, because I'm not a construction person, but I'm wondering if I should be appalled at how bad the building is, or if that was something that happened like within a few weeks or months.
Yeah, please, CAO.
Yeah, I would say that, yes, we do building condition assessments of our facilities. The Beachburg rink, like the Cobden rink and the Westmeath arenas, these facilities were only transferred to the township in the last, within the last 6 or 10 years. So certainly the disintegration of the roof, for example, didn't happen overnight. The facility is probably 40 or 50 years old, so it's a series of events that occur that bring it to that state. But we at this point in time are owners of the facilities, so we need to examine our options, if you will. But yeah, certainly our facilities, we are getting building conditions assessment. The piece, though, is that when we come to budget time and those assessments indicate we should be spending so much money per year on each facility. Certainly that's that capital forecasting, that asset management piece that we'll get into this afternoon with training at a high level. But as a whole, we need to be looking at our facilities, at our assets, and projecting the cost to maintain these assets into the future. So yeah, it's not overnight, certainly not. But yeah, something we need to look at.
Good. Councillor Moore.
Thank you for that, and I do agree. I think now that we have the report, even though it was somewhat guarded when we got it, we're better well informed now. There's a lot has to happen. There's a lot has happened. And I think before we go any farther, and I look for the superintendent for this, that before we go anywhere, I think our brine should be tested, which is the lines underneath the ice pad, before we go any farther and make any decisions. Does that make sense?
Yes, the brine is tested yearly, and it's tested for contaminants. So you have two 5-inch header pipes underneath your slab. So they test the brine to determine the deterioration of the inside of them pipes. So then if there's deterioration on the inside of the pipes, they add inhibitors to stop rust or anything like that. To my knowledge of the piping that's inside the Beachburg Arena now, there's 2 loops closed. So there was leakage from 2 loops within the system. So there's 2 loops closed in the system, and there's been 2 to 3 major repairs on some of them loops, and we are leaking a little bit of brine right now. So it's manageable, but the bottom line is all these other municipalities right now, Deep River's in the process of changing their pad, right? These things last 40 years, 45 years, and they have to be replaced. So we have 3 pads now. The Cobden Arena is going to need to be replaced at some point, right? So the pads need to be replaced in Beachburg for sure. The pad has to be replaced, and it's deteriorating, right? With the pad installation, you have the boards and everything else is tied in with the piping. So.
Okay, thank you. So my second point to that, would it be advantageous for this council to actually meet at the building and go through the building and have somebody like Jerry there to tell us what is what? I can certainly add to some of it because I know the building fairly well, and I'm just wondering if council would entertain going for an on-site visit before we even make any decisions. How does that sound?
I'm going to jump in there, Councillor
Put
Moore.
that to Mayor.
We do have a plan for that. CAO, if you can amplify, please.
Yeah, so as part of the strategic exercise that'll occur after the approval of the budget, which is we're hoping mid-February, we're moving into that strategic planning exercise. So that exercise will have all of council visiting all of our facilities to get a sense of their conditions, where they're located, what they look like. So that time we would visit the Beachburg Arena. I would say that it'd be premature at this point in time to examine the facility as a whole in order to determine whether we're moving forward with ice in 2023. I'd say we'd be better to postpone and be part of the strategic planning exercise.
Yeah, thanks, CAO. One more comment, Councillor Trim.
Yes, just a point of clarification, maybe for my own clarification, but the arenas were always owned by the municipality. There was no way that the different organizations could get money from the province when the new gambling money became available in the 70s. And so it had to be worked through the municipality. And the municipalities always owned the facilities, owned the property, and provided the insurance. It was through the municipality. The volunteer groups couldn't handle that. Also provided the tax-free feature for donations. However, and so up until recently, whatever year Ivan mentioned, the care and maintenance of the facilities was on the shoulders of volunteers. And so it depended on the quality, the commitment, the interest of the volunteer groups of the day as to how things were taken care of. And as was pointed out, this was an amazing feat for all those years for volunteers to be able to do that. And the facilities are quite old. So that's my understanding, and if I'm wrong, I would like to be corrected.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Trim. CAO, did you have a comment?
Again, I'm uncertain whether I'm uncertain of the points that Councillor Trim is making with respect to ownership of the land. I think the point being made is that they were being maintained by recreation associations. Certainly, they have invested lots of money in these facilities. There's no question of that, and I want, we should highlight that. Certainly, the township was contributing to those associations on an annual basis, as I understand it, in the tunes of tens of thousands of dollars. But yeah, we're here where we are now today, and we need to look forward, right? So yeah, I can't confirm that. Maybe I will after an email of council with the response.
Thank you, CAO. Councillor Tabbert.
Just a quick question. We own the arena property in Beachburg?
Yes, so that's the one that I'm certain
don't.
that we do not own the property on which the facility is located. So that property is owned by the adjacent landowner, which is the Beachburg Agricultural Society. We do have a piece of land though where our septic system is, so the septic is on our municipal property. That septic, which needs to be replaced probably in the next 5 to 10 years, and increased in size. So certainly our relationship with the Agricultural Society is one that is good, and yeah, so that we'd have to examine that land piece if we want to move forward with the continuation of the facility.
Any other comments? So just before I go back to the mover to see if he has any wrap up, I'm just going to articulate 2 or 3 things that came up. So one is just understanding the state of our assets. So right now we're focused in on one asset, the rink. There is a number of assets like this, and they're not just our facilities. We're talking about water mains, wastewater stuff. We're talking about storm sewers, ditches, fire halls. They're all in this kind of situation. And you'll see in the training this afternoon, we're going to look at that. And it's important for us as council, if we're going to start to spend millions of dollars and plan millions of dollars, we need to know everything that's out there and then prioritize it. So I take your point, Councillor Moore. We need to get eyes on these facilities. We need to get eyes on everything to put that into context when we're doing the strategic plan. So that will come, and that will take a significant effort of staff. So that's why we've scheduled it into the time period after the budget gets passed. Good. The second one was just the note about the Ag Society in Beachburg. When we're doing that discussion, both at the staff level or at the lead level, we want to include the Ag Society. It is their property. What happens to that building in the future may impact them, and I want them to be part of that discussion. Okay? Most likely the same volunteers are on both organizations, but we want to make sure that we don't miss out on the actual landowners. Excellent. I just want to thank staff. Complex situation, emotional decision, recommendation that you have to make. I think it's the appropriate one. Difficult, but it's going to be even more difficult when we take a look at all of our assets in the future. So with that, I'll turn it back to Councillor Bell. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, just 2 comments. So I just want to make sure moving forward that the Rec Association and maybe other organizations in the community are consulted or at least communicated with on a very transparent basis. To Kathy's point as well, if we don't have the ice surface in there, there is opportunity for other activities or other groups to get in there, and maybe for to be able to create a little bit of revenue there for some rental of the actual facility. So maybe something that we should look at and communicate with the Rec Association and maybe some of the other organizations within the community. And then just as we make decisions, it comes back to the transparency and the communication. Like, I think it is a very sensitive topic for the residents of Beachburg. And just posting the video online of the meetings may not be enough to make sure that we have buy-in from the community, or at least make sure that the community knows all the ins and outs of the decisions that are being made. So however we decide to do that moving forward, I think that we should definitely just consider that communication piece as an important part of this, because it is such a sensitive topic for that specific community. So.
Sorry, thanks, Councillor Bell. Just on that, CAO, I think the Beachburg Rec Association president is going to approach us for some presentation, whether that's you and Councillor Bell or staff as appropriate. If we can please schedule that in. Awesome. With that, you have another comment, Councillor Moore?
I just wanted to add, you did bring up the possibility of outdoor ice this winter, so I'd like us not to forget about that and perhaps push forward.
Yes, and that'll be part of that discussion with the Beachburg Rec. It'll probably have to happen between Councillor Bell and them before we have a chance to sit with them formally. And it is part of the motion. So it is included in there that we will try to support them. Good. With all that being said, we'll now take a vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented? Excellent. Passed. The next item on the agenda is Whitewater Region Municipal Election Summary. And the recommendation before us is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive the 2022 Whitewater Regional Municipal Election Summary for information purposes. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Tabbert, and a seconder? Councillor Olmsted. Good, and I'll turn it over to staff.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll begin by just expressing my thanks to all staff that were involved in the 2022 municipal election. Certainly, they've spent lots of times over the weekends and into the evenings to get through the municipal election that extended from October 14th to the 24th. Essentially, as the members of council will know, there were 2 candidates for the single office of mayor and 10 candidates running for the 5 offices of councillors. Congratulating everybody that is here today as you were elected or acclaimed. So Deputy Mayor Kathy Rieger was acclaimed on August 22nd for the office of Deputy Mayor, which is our formerly the Reeve position. So the voting commenced over a period of 10 days from October 14th to the 24th. We held some advanced polling stations on 5 different occasions within our Whitewater seniors centers, as well as one in Westmeath, one in the sort of Ross area, and the other one in Beachburg. So those were held in the evenings and or over the weekends. The dates are noted there. And then official election day was on October 24th, and it ended at 8 p.m. All of you, I think, were present in council chambers when we announced the results. Essentially, we had 6,613 eligible voters. 2,715 casted a ballot, representing 40.81%. Of those 2,715 ballots, 69% were done online, 4% were done by telephone, and 25% were done through a paper ballot. So it gives you a sense of how people are voting in our municipal election. And it represents a decrease of about 7% in voter turnout since 2018. So the results were announced on the 24th by the returning officer. We did have a close candidates for the position of 5th and 6th position of office for the office of councillor of the candidates, and our automatic recount policy came into play. So candidates Joey Trim and Darryl McLaughlin were within 7 votes. The township's automatic recount policy came into play, and we officially had the automatic recount on Friday at 1 p.m. and that recount yielded the identical results from the 24th. So staff provided the summary report to the members of council, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any. Thanks.
Thank you, CAO. The mover, Councillor Tabbert, do you have any questions? Seconder, Councillor Olmsted? No. Any other comments or questions from any of the other councillors? Deputy Mayor? No. Good. I'll just echo the comments that the CAO made at the very beginning. Thank you so much to staff, and it was a staff effort that pulled this election off. The amount of dedication and work that went into the preliminary portion of it and running it went very smoothly for the most part. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So we'll vote on this recommendation before us. All those in favor? Thank you, and that is passed. Excellent. Next item on the agenda is correspondence to receive. And just for, I think we'll talk about it in our training, but do you speak to them first, CAO? Is that what you're?
You would bring forward a motion to receive the correspondences, and if a member of council wishes to discuss an item, they could bring it to your attention, if you will. Then I could speak to an item.
Perfect. Okay, so We'll have a motion on the table to receive the correspondence that's attached. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Moore. Seconder, Councillor Trim. Good. And I'm just going to move straight into the CAO to make his comments, and then we'll go around the table. Go ahead, CAO.
All right, thanks. So we have 3 pieces of correspondence. The first one is from the Muskrat Watershed Council. They're thanking, or they're congratulating the members of council, deputy mayor and mayor, for their appointments within each of their offices, or their on the council of the Township of Whitewater Region. Second item is with respect to Connect Well Community Health. They received a recreation grant in the amount of $900. So 2 times a year, subject to budget approval. The townships issues grants to local organizations that put on recreational activities. So Connect Well just sent us an email thanking the members of council for their contribution. And Festival Hall seat campaign. So the township did contribute some funds to the Festival Hall seat campaign, where I think they replaced all the seats within Festival Hall. So our contribution was recognized by them with a plaque within their lobby area, as I understand. I haven't been there before, so I think it's in their lobby area. So those are just all positive correspondences to the township, and glad to answer any questions you may have. Thanks.
Excellent. I'll go to the mover and the seconder first. Councillor Moore.
Just one thing to comment on Festival Hall seat out campaign. That was a one-time thing, and the seats that had to be replaced were becoming in disrepair, and were upwards of 30 to 35 years old. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Trim, seconder. No. Any other members of council that want to make a comment or a question? Councillor Olmsted, please.
Well, I'll be attending the hall Friday night, so I'll get a first-hand account of how well the seats work. And if I can find the plaque, I'll make sure to take a picture with my mug beside it, and I'll bring it to council next time. As a thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tappert.
Seats are very comfortable. I was in it to watch Newsies, and oh yeah, they're nice. They have cup holders and everything now, so you don't spill your drinks all over the place. But I didn't see the plaques.
Perfect. Anyone else? Good. The only comment I'll make is just with respect to the Watershed Council's letter. I know that we've informally announced or distributed the allocation of representatives on committees like the Watershed Council. We have yet to vote on that. That'll come before council at a regular council meeting in December. As a part of that confirmation, we will issue letters to each one of these organizations outlining who's been appointed to their committee or board or organization. We'll make it a little bit more formal than what we've had in the past 2 weeks. Good. Excellent. There's nothing else. We'll just vote to receive that correspondence. All those in favor, please? Received. Thank you. Excellent. Next item on our agenda is closed session for education and training. So the recommendation before us is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region move into closed session at 9:44 a.m. as permitted under Section 9(1)B, educating and training of the members for general council orientation by staff, with the CEO, deputy clerk, and managers, superintendents remaining in the room. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Olmsted. Good. All those in favor? Passed. So we will now move into closed session.
Yeah, so if we just wait a few minutes to shut all the video recording off, that'd be great. And we are a bit early, so if you want to take a break.
Good. Let's take a recess.